Section 1. Immediate immersion and setup. The cold open. You land at Stansted Airport with 2 suitcases, the acceptance letter you've read 47 times, and the quiet, desperate belief that everything will be different now. Back home, you were the kid who stayed up until 3 a.m. reading books nobody your age cared about, the one who raised their hand when nobody else would, the one your teachers called gifted, like it was a diagnosis, not a compliment. You spent years building toward this. The applications, the essays, the interviews over Zoom at 4 a.m. because of the time difference, the rejection from Oxford that stung, for exactly 2 days before the Cambridge offer came through. Your mother cried. Your father called every relative he had. Now you're standing in the arrivals hall and holding a coffee that costs more than lunch at home, and the first thing you notice is the cold. Not regular cold. A damp, bone-deep English cold that makes your lungs feel like they've been packed in wet newspaper. You drag your bags onto the train. The countryside rolls past, green fields, gray skies, church steeples in the distance. You press your face against the window like a child, and something in your chest tightens. You're here. You're actually here. But nobody told you that the hardest part of Cambridge isn't getting in, it's surviving once you arrive. Section 2. The turning point / the offer, the inciting incident. Your college is older than your country. You walk through the porter's lodge, and the stone walls seem to hum with 700 years of accumulated knowledge and quiet judgment. The porter calls you by your last name and hands you a key, attached to a wooden block the size of a Bible. He doesn't smile. You get the feeling porters at Cambridge have never smiled and never will. Your room is small and cold. A single bed with a mattress so thin you can feel the slats through it, a desk, a lamp, a window that overlooks a courtyard where someone is already reading in a deck chair, like it's a beach in Tuscany. You unpack. You arrange your books on the shelf. You tape a photograph of your family to the wall above your desk and stare at it for a while. Freshers' Week is a blur of awkward introductions and formal hall dinners, where everyone seems to know exactly which fork to use. You don't. You watch the person next to you and copy. You learn quickly that at Cambridge, ignorance isn't a problem as long as nobody catches you at it. Then comes the first day of Michaelmas term. Your first supervision. You walk into a room in the old court. There's a fireplace, a Persian rug, leather chairs, and bookshelves that go from floor to ceiling. Your supervisor, Dr. Pemberton, is a man in his 60s with wild eyebrows and the permanent expression of someone who has just been mildly insulted. There are 4 other students in the room. They are all British. They know each other already. They went to schools you've never heard of, but that apparently everyone here has. They speak in a kind of code, references to gap years in Namibia, A-level results discussed like weather reports, family connections mentioned casually in passing. One of them is the son of an MP, and another's grandmother donated a stained glass window to the chapel. These are not things they brag about. These are things they mention the way you'd mention what you had for breakfast. And then Dr. Pemberton looks at you. Right then. And you are... He checks his list, mispronounces your name, doesn't ask how to say it correctly. Nobody does. You're the only foreign student in the room. You will be the only foreign student in this room for the entire year. The realization doesn't hit you suddenly. It seeps in like the cold through the single-paned windows, slow, and then everywhere. Section 3. Initial adaptation and harsh realities. The new normal. Phase 1. The first supervision is a bloodbath. Not the dramatic kind. The quiet, surgical kind. Dr. Pemberton asks a question about Keynesian fiscal policy, and 3 of your peers answer immediately, practically over each other. Their accents are sharp and confident, and they use phrases like, "one might argue," and "the literature suggests," with a fluency that feels inherited rather than learned. You have the answer. You've had it since he asked, but by the time you open your mouth, they've moved on. You walk back to your room afterward and sit at your desk for 20 minutes without moving. You stare at the photograph of your family. Your mother would say, "You're there for a reason." Your father would say, "Work harder." Neither of those things feels useful right now. The reading lists are brutal, not because the material is too difficult. You've always been a strong reader, but the sheer volume is crushing. Like you're expected to read 3 or 4 academic papers per supervision, plus a chapter or 2 from a textbook, plus recommended reading that turns out to be essential. You read at the desk, in the library, in bed at night, with a torch because your desk lamp buzzes like a dying insect and keeps your neighbor awake. The university library becomes your second home. It's a brutalist concrete tower that looks like a communist government building and smells like dust and anxiety. You find a seat on the 3rd floor, near the window, and you guard it with your life. You learn that at Cambridge, finding a good study spot is a competitive sport. You arrive at 8:15 every morning, because by 8:30 the seats are gone. Meals are another minefield. Formal hall is 3 times a week. Gowns required. Grace said in Latin. Now you sit at long wooden tables with candles and portraits of dead men staring down at you. The food is surprisingly bad for such a beautiful setting. Overcooked vegetables, mystery meat, and a dessert that always involves custard. You eat everything because you're hungry, and because the meal plan is included in your fees. And your fees are already a number that makes your parents go quiet when they think about it. The casual conversations are the hardest part, not the academic discussions. You can hold your own in those, even if it takes you a few weeks to find your rhythm. It's the social interactions that leave you stranded. Someone mentions a TV show you've never watched. Someone else references a childhood experience that's apparently universal in this country, but completely alien to you. Cricket, Marmite, at the ritual complaints about British Rail. Someone makes a joke about a politician, and everyone laughs, and you laugh too. A beat too late, and nobody notices but you. You start to realize that belonging isn't just about being smart enough. It's about knowing the unwritten rules, the invisible codes, the shared references that bind a group together. And you don't have any of them. You call home every Sunday. The connection is bad. Your mother asks if you're eating well. Your father asks about your grades. You tell them everything is wonderful. The buildings are beautiful. The professors are brilliant. The other students are very nice. You hang up and sit in the silence of your small, cold room and feel the distance like a physical weight on your chest. 3 weeks in, you get your first essay back. Dr. Pemberton has written, "Good effort," and but lacks rigor, in red ink. You stare at those words for an hour. Back home, you were the best. Here, you're a good effort. You've never been a good effort in your life. Section 4, Escalation and Deepening Immersion, the New Normal, Phase 2. Something shifts around week 6. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but in the way frost melts off a window in the morning. Slow, then all at once. You stop trying to speak like them. You stop imitating the one might argue cadence, the practiced casualness, the studied indifference. Instead, you bring something they don't have, a different perspective, a different frame of reference. When Dr. Pemberton asks about development economics, you don't quote from a textbook. You talk about what you've seen, what your family has lived through. The room goes quiet. And for the first time, that the silence isn't because they've moved on without you. It's because they're listening. Dr. Pemberton looks at you over his glasses. Interesting, he says. It's the most he's ever said about anything you've contributed. From Dr. Pemberton, interesting is practically a standing ovation. You start writing differently. Your essays get longer, more detailed, more personal. You weave in examples from your own country, your own experience. You learn to use the academic language as a tool rather than a mask. Your next essay comes back with strong analysis. More of this, please. You tape it to the wall, next to the photograph of your family. You make your first real friend in Lent term. Her name is Priya. She's studying natural sciences, and she's from Birmingham, and which she describes as the city everyone forgets exists. She finds you in the college bar one evening, where you're sitting alone nursing a half-pint of ale that tastes like wet bread. You always look like you're solving a really difficult equation, she says, sitting down uninvited. Even when you're drinking. Priya becomes your translator, not of language, but of culture. She explains things you never thought to ask about. Why people say, not bad, when they mean excellent. Why a dinner party invitation for 7-ish means 7:30, never 7. Why nobody will ever tell you they disagree with you directly. Instead, they'll say, that's an interesting perspective, which, you learn, is British for, you're completely wrong. You start navigating the college social scene with a new kind of confidence. It's not the brash confidence of belonging, but the quieter confidence of understanding. You join the debate society because public speaking is the one thing you've always been good at. The one arena where your accent and your outsider status become advantages rather than liabilities. You argue with precision and passion and the kind of raw energy that makes people sit up. You win your first debate by a margin that surprises everyone, including yourself. But the isolation doesn't disappear. It evolves. You stop feeling like you don't belong and start feeling like you belong differently. You notice things others don't. The way the porters treat you with fractionally more suspicion than the British students. The way certain professors assume you need extra help before they've seen your work. And the way the college admissions materials feature diverse faces on the brochure, but the reading lists contain exclusively white, male, Western thinkers. You don't say anything about this. Not yet. You file it away, the way you file away everything in this country. You learn that Cambridge teaches you 2 educations simultaneously, the one on the syllabus and the one about power, privilege, and who gets to define what knowledge is. Winter arrives, and it rains every single day for 3 weeks straight. The kind of fine, persistent drizzle that doesn't seem like much, but soaks you to the bone. You buy a waterproof jacket from a charity shop on Mill Road. It's bright yellow and makes you look like a traffic cone. Priya calls it your beacon of hope. You wear it every day because it's the warmest thing you own. Now you discover the Cambridge traditions one by one, like unlocking levels in a game. May Week, which is actually in June, because Cambridge thinks linear time is a suggestion. Formal swaps with other colleges, where you drink too much wine and try to remember which fork is for fish. Punting on the Cam, where you learn that steering a flat-bottomed boat with a pole is significantly harder than it looks, and you fall into the river on your first attempt. The water is freezing and smells like algae and regret. Someone photographs you climbing out, dripping wet, and the picture ends up on the college Instagram. It gets more likes than any of your academic achievements ever will. You start to build a life here, Small rituals that anchor you. Coffee from the market square every morning. The same seat in the UL. And a Wednesday night phone call home that you never skip. Sunday walks along the backs, where the willow trees hang over the river, and the light turns golden in the late afternoon, and for a moment, just a moment, the homesickness fades into something softer. Not gone, but manageable. Your grades climb steadily. By the end of Lent term, you're in the top 3 in your class. The same class where you once sat silently while everyone else spoke. The same room where Dr. Pemberton mangled your name. He still mispronounces it, but now he does it with something resembling respect. You've earned that much. But the loneliness has a longer reach than you expected. It shows up at strange moments. In the middle of a party, surrounded by people. Walking past a family having a picnic on the college lawn, and hearing someone on the phone with their mother in the corridor, speaking easily, laughing about nothing. You feel it like a phantom limb. The life you left behind, still attached, still aching. Section 5. The climax/point of no return. The ultimate test. Exam season. The entire university transforms into a pressure cooker of anxiety and caffeine. The library fills up at 6 a.m. People cry in the bathrooms. Someone has a panic attack during a mock exam and has to be taken out by the college nurse. The competition that was always there, polite and hidden beneath good manners, comes to the surface like something rising from deep water. You study 14 hours a day. You stop eating proper meals and survive on toast, instant noodles, and a trail mix from Sainsbury's that you've convinced yourself counts as nutrition. Your sleep shrinks to 5 hours, then 4. You dream about essay questions. The isolation that was always manageable becomes unbearable. Everyone has someone. Study groups, friends who bring each other coffee, partners who show up with encouraging notes. Priya is locked in her own exam preparations, disappearing into the science labs for days at a time. You see her briefly in the hallway, and she looks as hollow as you feel. And then, 3 days before your first exam, your father calls. It's Tuesday afternoon. He never calls on Tuesdays. Your mother is in the hospital. It's not critical. Not yet. But it might be. The details are vague because your father is a man who expresses fear through understatement. She's resting, he says, and the doctors are doing tests. His voice is steady, but there's a crack in it, a fault line that tells you everything he's not saying. You stand in your room holding your phone, and the world splits in 2. There is the world where you fly home, where you sit by your mother's bed and hold her hand, where you are the child who came back when it mattered. And there is the world where you stay, where you take the exams you've spent 8 months preparing for, where you prove that all of this meant something, that the sacrifice, the cold rooms, the loneliness, the mispronounced name was worth it. You can't do both. The exams don't have a deferral option this late. The flight home would take 22 hours and cost money you don't have. And you'd arrive too exhausted to be useful and too guilt-ridden to study. You call your mother's phone, and as she picks up on the 3rd ring, her voice is thin but warm. "Don't you dare come home," she says. "You didn't go all the way to Cambridge to sit in a hospital with me. I'll be fine. You study." She says it with the absolute authority of a woman who has spent her entire life making sure her children's futures are bigger than her own present. You hang up. You sit down at your desk. You open your textbook. The words blur. You wipe your eyes with the back of your hand. You read the first line again. You take the exams. All of them. Every single one. You walk into the examination hall in your gown and your subfusc, which is the formal academic dress that makes everyone look like they're attending a Victorian funeral. Your hands are shaking. Your heart rate is somewhere between espresso overdose and cardiac event. But you write. You write with everything you have. Every lecture, every supervision, every late night in the library, every conversation you didn't have, every moment you spent on the outside looking in. Section 6. Lingering consequences and open ending. The new reality. Results come out on a Thursday. You check them online, alone in your room, at 7 in the morning, because you've been awake since 4. First-class honors. Top of your year. Your name, still misspelled on the official list, but there, undeniable. You sit on the edge of your thin mattress. You hold your phone. You should call home. You should be celebrating. But all you feel is a quiet, heavy kind of stillness, like the moment after a storm when the wind stops and everything is wet and broken and somehow beautiful. Your mother is recovering. She'll be okay, and she was right to make you stay. Or maybe she wasn't. You'll never know the version of this story where you went home. You look at the photograph on the wall. Your family, squinting in the sun, outside the house you grew up in. You've been away for 9 months. It feels like 9 years. The person who left that house, the one with 2 suitcases and an acceptance letter read 47 times, is someone you can barely remember. You walk out into the courtyard. The cobblestones are wet. The air smells like rain and cut grass and old stone. A group of students crosses the lawn, laughing about something, their gowns billowing behind them. One of them waves at you. You wave back. You don't know their name. You buy a coffee from the market square. You hold it in both hands and stand on King's Parade, in watching the tourists photograph the chapel. The sun breaks through the clouds for the first time, in what feels like weeks. You tilt your face toward it and close your eyes. This is home now, or something close to it. Something you built from nothing, word by word, essay by essay, in a language that isn't yours, in a country that still doesn't quite know what to do with you. You take a sip. The coffee is too hot. It burns your tongue. You drink it in.